Hello everyone, it's Mr. Von Grimmsy here, and today we're going to be going over Yami RPG Editor. So the first step, create a new project. We're going to keep the default settings here except for the name. We'll just name it Tutorial. Oh, the name's already taken it seems. Tutorial 2, why not? Okay, when we load in, we can see many things happening here. There's rain, there's little people dancing around. One thing we're going to take in, we have this on the side. This is our tile map, or actually the objects for our tile map, right here. Anytime you're unsure of where you're at, look for this little label. It will change depending on what window you are active in. So, we now have down here, we have our asset tree. Many different folders, as you can see. And here, we can change the scale here. Let's make this a little too small there. There we go. Now, a few things we're going to look at here. One we'll have to look at much later on. Deployment. This is when we want to publish our game to let people that do not have Yami RPG Editor. We want them to play the game. That's deployment. So that's a far ways off yet. Few things here. Probably here is a good way to start. Good place to start. Now, these two should be self-explanatory. This is the name of our project, the window size, the resolution it's displayed at, the padding for the sides, perhaps the sides if you want to have a letterbox effect or something similar, the animation interval for tiles. Now, these ones are not as clear to most people, I believe. Tile rendering area, animation rendering area, and light rendering area. As a catch-all and a quick way to explain what these do, these determine the range in which each field is animated. If we go outside of this range, animation or light rendering or tile rendering will cease. So you see, it's not set to anything here because we want to see the tiles at all times. However, if we go too far outside of these ranges here, the animations will stop rendering. This is done to save performance, frame rate for the game player. Same thing for light rendering. This is why they're both set in such a manner. Collision system, here we can set if actor collision is enabled, yes. Scene collision, yes. We set the collision size of the actor, just less than one tile. Trigger collision mode if they collide with shapes or they collide with the anchor. Here we can add fonts, import new ones. We can set if word wraps on or not. Here's a little more important. Each one of these fields here correlates to different events that have already been set up in our template. Startup will obviously happen when the game starts up, setting different variables, setting different things up. Game initialization and scene initialization do the same sorts of things. Show text is setting what happens when we call the show text event command, and the same goes for show choices. Here we're going to set something that's a little important that we'll go over when we're done explaining this. Player team. This is if the player is a good guy or a bad guy, essentially. Or if they're an NPC. So, player being set to team player, as we'll see soon, means they can fight monsters. However, they cannot fight NPCs. We can change that if we want the player to be a murder hobo. So, player actor, we'll set here. We're already set to this handsome man here. We can set it to archer, mage, priest, or orc, I guess. But we'll keep it to warrior for now. Here we have some other options. If we wanted to have more party members, we could add it here. I'm not certain, but I believe there may be a way to extend this past 4 party members. Then we have party inventory mode. Do we share the player's inventory, like many RPGs do, or perhaps they have their own inventories? This may be used with perhaps a weight system, so certain characters may not be able to carry as much. For example, actor temporary attributes. These are attributes that come and go as needed, and we will usually check these within different events. If an actor is idle, perhaps, they can do or can't do certain things. If they are stunned, they can or can't do certain things. If they are able to endure, perhaps they are not moved or knocked out of attacks while they have that state active. poison, any other number of things can be applied here. Buffs, debuffs. Then we have frame rate, sound attenuation. Many people may know this, but some may not, so I'll go over it briefly. Sound attenuation applies to the distance that sound changes its volume, increasing or decreasing depending on how far away you are. So perhaps I'm in this little house. If the attenuation is different, maybe I hear some sounds differently as I go further away from the house. The sound becomes more faint and grows louder again as I come back next to it. This could be a very useful effect if you're trying to make sound important in your game. And we can set the way the attenuation eases, the way it occurs. Linear, easing in, easing out, or easing in and easing out. Then we have something that's more important for programmers, obviously. Default scripting language, obviously, is set to JavaScript. If we want, we could also change it to TypeScript. Now this will mostly apply if you're using the script event command. If you're not using it, this won't apply to you so much, so there's no reason in bothering to change it or not. Localization should be obvious. We have the languages. English and simplified Chinese are set by default. We can also change what we want the default language to be for our game itself. English, Chinese, or any of the other languages we have set here. So we're going to change, not save the changes, because we didn't really do anything there. Global variables can be very important. Many things can be set here. But I believe one that's more important is this one right here, and something I like the most about this engine. We have these different folders here. Now you see this as attributes. In many other game development programs of this sort, this would be called parameters, or stats, or core stats, or any number of other things. However, what makes this very important is that we can create our own quite easily. Now, essentially, these are just numbers that we're checking in events, but the freedom to be able to make them in whatever capacity we want. We can make them Boolean, we can make them strings, numbers, enumerated strings, which will apply to another thing we'll go over soon, or we can make them objects for elements. So, we're going to keep it as a number. And as you see, each time I clicked one of these radio buttons, this little bubble changed to be a shorthand indication of what sort of variable that is, or what sort of attribute, I should say. These are strings, name and class. This is an enumerated string, and as you see, string and enumerated string offer perhaps other options. When we go here, we'll click on this and it will open a new menu, Enumeration. Here we can set things such as actor classes, equipment types, equipment qualities, equipment slots, and many other things. Now something else I'll point out here. Well, we don't need this attribute, so we'll get rid of that. Something else I'll point out. Now you see there's a star by each one of these, and you might wonder, what does that mean? If we right click, we go to Set As, and you see it is set for actor attributes. What that means is when we, discard, when we go to our actor here, these attributes will be the same attributes that has been set for this folder. So when we look here, this whole list here applies here, except for maybe prevent dialogue, but that is also checked as an actor attribute within events. So equip, right there, what weapons, what equipment types his character can use, swords and axes, his class is warrior, right there. All of these things are right here. Each one has a similar setting based on the title of the folder. So it should be clear to see what these do. Now, enumeration, I'll go over briefly. We looked at it a second ago, but I wanted to touch on something else. This can apply to keys for our shortcut bar, or what is also called a hotbar in many other games like this. It's set to 1, 2, 3, 4 by default. We can also set it to 5, 6, 7, 8, and have perhaps space be number 9. We can set it up however we want. Attack is right RB, which means right button, or right mouse button, typically. Cooldown keys, there's a lot of different things we can set here. And as you see, again, some of these have stars. And if they have a star, they are set to apply to certain things. So, when we are calling event commands, and we're looking for shortcut keys as a condition for something, it will search this folder and everything within it. If this is not set here, it will not show up in the event command. Keep that in mind. This is very important into creating things to run the way you want them to, so keep it in mind. Okay, so we got our different people here. This is one thing I'll go over very quickly, and then I'm going to wrap this up because it's a little late on my end of existence here, 2 in the morning. So we have our different actors here. One thing I'll show you when we go up here, their animation is in fact the same for all 5. The only thing that changes is something we set here, the sprites. And you'll notice the sprite for actor and weapon both change when we go to each one. So we can in fact have one animation or one set of movements apply to an actor or any number of actors and just reskin it with different actor graphics or different weapon graphics. This cuts down on a lot of reworking that we would normally have to do were that not an option in this engine. So it is very useful into making things happen quickly. Now, since we're here, we'll look at Hero real quick. Now, you see this thing I just opened drastically changed everything, right? Well, we have our tabs here if we still need to get somewhere quickly. Now, this is the animation editor that is built into the program. We look here, we see our little guy. Let's go to the first thing and press play. You can watch him bounce. Well, let's loop it. Watch him bounce around with his little sword there. Nice. Now, I'll try to explain very quickly what all of this entails. If we right-click and go to Insert, we're brought back to a similar menu. We're brought back to Enumeration again. Now, Enumeration, like I said, allows us to set equipment slots, equipment types, equipment qualities, all these things. Now, something else I didn't go over, it allows us to set actor motions. So, idle, movement, jumping, attacking, being hurt, dying, teleporting, boss frenzy, many different things. We would add new ones here simply by right-clicking, adding a string, and then adding a name for the string. Then, we'll cancel this for now, but then we would go here and set an animation to apply to that action. So then we could call that animation for that action within events when we want something to happen. It's a very useful way to do things. Now, idle, as we can see, is already set up for us. So idle is a motion. This thing here, this little arrow, applies to loop being selected or not being selected. So we turn it off, we see it disappear. Easy. Now, mode here is already set for us too. One directional mirror. Now, for those that edit images regularly, this should be easy to see what it does. He's facing to the right now. One directional mirror will ensure when he moves to the left, the image will flip to face that direction. It makes it a lot easier instead of editing each frame or editing each part of the image to change. Movement, jump, attack, attack. This is one of his special attacks. Spins around with the sword. Now, something else I'll show you here. Here, if we want to set up images for our character, we will right-click, create, and create a sprite. So we'd go here to the sprites and set it to an image that we wanted. We're going to delete that for now, though, because we don't need to mess with that just yet. So, assets, asset browser, this whole window here we already went over. Now very quickly, the last thing I'll show you is this little example project in motion. Go to play, and get our window here. New game. That's troublesome. Let's see if we can fix that. So that would be in project settings. That's already set to windowed. I'll be damned. Let's try full screen. There we go. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of stuff going on here. We have all the little guys dancing around. These characters were created when the map was generated by an auto-run event. So we didn't see them originally because they didn't exist until the map loaded in. Now we got our little guy. We can move around with WASD like normal. Arrow keys as well. If we left click, we can also move, and it'll show an indicator where he's moving. Right click will swing our sword, and we'll do combos. This is already set up within the engine for the template. So what I want to do, go to this chest, and you see when we grab things, it shows up over here. Another thing, being this is an example template, we can change day to night, or back and forth. And notice when we do that, lighting effects take play. The fire shows a light, and each one of these characters has their own light radius, as does the player's character, which we can change or eliminate if we want the character to be in darkness for not having a light source. Something else we'll do real quick. Actually, I briefly saw this a moment ago. This is our menu. We can equip different weapons if we had them, armor, what have you. Save the game, exit the game. We can look over our skills. We'll notice one of these here. This is a passive skill, as it says on the right-hand side. And it gives us attack bonus and attack speed bonus. All of these are active skills, and they display their cooldown. If we wanted to, we could add descriptions for these as well. So we're going to get out of that. Now, here's the fun part. What do you want? I want to create 1,000 monsters, because I'm feeling tough. I'm not feeling tough now. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Whoa, that's a lot of guys. Okay, I'm probably going to die. Seems I gained a level at some point. Maybe I killed a few of them. See, by the way this is set up, I'm regenerating hit points, but I'm also regenerating hit points as I attack enemies, which you'll see when I do that, and I just gained a level again. Ooh, they killed a lot of guys. As you can see, the frame rate has stayed steady the whole time, and that was a lot of enemies all at once. Let's get some more rounded up. Probably going to die this time. So, as you can see, like I said, again, it would be quite easy to make a Vampire Survivors type of game with this engine. All you would need to do is add in any additional programming you wanted, additional graphics, additional sounds, additional music, or whatever, and you'd be set. I think this engine is very underutilized so far, which is a shame because it offers an immense amount of flexibility in creating such projects. Okay, we're going to call that good for now because I'm eventually going to die, and that wouldn't be fun to record. Alright, so that'll wrap up this short introduction to the game development engine, Yami RPG Editor. Jeez, I'm tripping over my own words tonight. It is 2 in the morning, though, so I have some excuse for that. So, I will make some more videos detailing actual tasks to do if you want to achieve certain effects. For example, within events, there's a lot of different things to do. If we go to event, let's create an event called event, and click here. Many different things to go over in future videos. Nothing for now, though. It's a whole lot of stuff. So, that'll be it for now. If you like this video, be sure to click like and subscribe. I'm a bit of a newbie on YouTube, as you can see by my low follower, subscription count, whatever. I don't know. I'm old. I have some excuse. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time.